And so the time long foretold has come in Australia at last. We have a new Warhammer artworks magazine. This time, once again, for 40k. So, this issue comes with, in terms of miniatures, it comes with the Primaris Lieutenant with Storm Shield, Power Sword and Volkite, and a Royal Warden armed with some twin-barreled Necron weapon. I think it's a Gauss Flare, or Gauss Reaper. I could be wrong. And yes, so let's just get this open violently if necessary. Pardon the yellow water off to the side there. That's paint water from a project I did recently. Anyway, in terms of contents inside this, we have a range ruler, which I think I said a moment ago. We have a two-sided battle mat, which one side is numbered, is marked with icons for placement. The other side is not and has funky Necron terrain on it. We have an office slip. We have a slip for your for you to take to your newsagent in theory. We have an Australian and an English pricing subscription offer thing, which, yeah, it's a subscription offer thing. Like it says what it comes with there. If you're really wanting to get the art that comes in here, that it's saying about here, and you don't want to actually subscribe to get it, you can just order it off either, I think it's Black Library or just the Warhammer page itself. There are pathways to find it. Or you can find the art piece and print it really large. A lot of that art's easy to find, even just on Games Workshop's own site. We have a large poster here that shows off the internal content, that shows off the kind of content of the magazine, but I'm trying to unfold it in a way that allows you to actually see it. But yeah, we have the big poster, which has a Necron character model unit that comes not in the cheap version of the starter set, but instead in the more expensive versions of the starter set, versus I think actually the character that comes in this one. Because while this guy's got a Volkite out, and this is a preview from later, he does have the same kind of storm shield on the side, or it could just be the character that comes in that set, which does have the option for have an optional helmet, or I think even optional partial helmet, or partially opened helmet. But his shield, that character has a whole skeleton on his shield, because why not? Why not carry your skeletons with you, hey? How do I close this without damaging it? Because I might give this poster away to somewhere. See if I can figure out what Warhammer clubs might want it. Okay, so then we have the issue with its falling off back page, which kind of gives you a bit of lore, and here we have contents of Indomitus with some extras, namely this thing on the Space Marine side, and this thing on the Necron side. Now the aforementioned commander unit I talked about was that one, which trying to angle the camera so you can actually see it, is a neat model. Now, all of these models came out of a set called Indomitus, which dropped in 2020, with the exception of the two character things, which had a really cool trailer dropped with it as well, that I did share a reaction video to back in the day, but yeah, I could do with having one where I was actually on camera. Anyway, and here it gives you a bit of a rundown on stuff. It says, does it say what the thing is? Relic Gauss Blaster. So it is a Gauss weapon. Here also it gives you suggestions of names for your character, using a D6 chart, as well as their titles. as well as the titles you could give them. Whereas War Gear Details, it gives you the option to actually name your weapons and your shield, which is neat. It's a kind of cool flavoury thing, which is cool for new players and veterans. We have a similar thing for the Necron character. We then have a bit of a rundown on, we have a brief overview on Space Marines, brief overview on Necrons, then we have a section where it shows you how to build and gives you a vague rundown of painting. It does leave out things, I'd say, like, you know, prime your miniatures, because, well, it's a step that either requires the parents to get spray paint or use primer, and I don't think even GW want to recommend their Imperial primer, because when I say Imperial primer, I mean the paint on one. Don't buy the paint on one. It's not very good. My experience of it has been generally rubbish. If you're unable to spray prime your models, I would say go about buying, go to a hobby store and ask if they stock Vallejo paints, and see about getting yourself a Vallejo paint on primer. Otherwise, get yourself a spray paint primer. GW do numerous versions. Hardware stores do as well. I would suggest just getting a black. I make use of a black automotive primer that's matte black. Don't want a gloss because you won't get paint to stick to it properly. A satin could work, but again you might run into the issue of paint sticking properly. If you guys want me to do a video actually where I talk about how to paint your models for beginners, let me know, because I'm happy to take suggestions from my community. We also have we have kind of a discussion of how the game in this works and talks about how to play it. Then we have a preview of future issues. Issue 4 looks like it comes with destroyers. I could be wrong. Does it actually tell me about issue 4? Do any of these? That tells you about something. So the other side of this poster that I didn't look at is the kind of product catalogue side. So here we see kind of a collection of models, and then we see here's the contents of what this entire set, this entire Partworks magazine in total is going to come with. And by the end of it you will have spent thousands, probably several thousand on it at least, because there's a lot in here, there's a lot of issues, as in a lot of issues in the magazine, not issues with the magazine. Some issues are going to be purely paint, others will be paint and a model, or paint and a brush. But yeah, we have on here a number of models ranging from, you've got Space Marine models like your bike units, fire strike turret, snipers that I keep forgetting the name of, jump troops that I forget the name of, close combat incestors or melee incestors. You have Vitrix Bodyguard and Primarch Gilliman somewhere here. Here we go, Gilliman, and the Vitrix Guard come with Manea's Kelgar, so of course they put Kelgar in there. There's some Infiltrator Marines, there's some Aggressors which have twin flamethrowers under their arms. They're a nasty unit to deal with, but they're not as good as they used to be because of things that Games Workshop have done with the rules since they released. Since other things have come out afterwards that they want to do well. But it's not just Space Marines in this, on the Imperium side. There's also Sisters of Battle, which is these models here that you see along here, the wing troops, the mech thing. There's some sisters at the front here with chainswords. There's some flaily armed men who are Arco-Flagrants of the Ministorum, who is the over-faction that the Sisters of Battle are part of. There is a Sister of Battle, Mistress of Repentance, who is leading the chainsword-wielding crazy ladies. They are part of an older set that was released at the end of 2019 as a preview for the Sister of Battle range. So, and until the Combat Patrol came out a few years ago, actually not a few years ago, came out in 2021, we hadn't seen those models since, because the preview set was a limited run. I mean, a lot of stores ended up with spares, but it was a limited run. And I and a few others had predicted that they'd come back out in the form of a starter set. We were right. So yeah, on top of that you've also got some Mechanicus forces. So for those who don't know 40k lore, and this is their introduction to the setting, welcome. So your Space Marines are your big tanky knights of humanity. All of them are genetically engineered super warriors who start out as child soldiers, who essentially are recruited as children and indoctrinated and programmed and genetically modified into being massive warriors that are like 10 feet tall and have as much armour on them as a battle tank. Like, it's not unfair to say they have they have about the same level, if not more, armour than Master Chief from Halo, or they certainly have more armour than the Gears of War and Doom Guy characters. But yeah, the Sisters of Battle are crazy space nuns with guns who their faith gives them funky abilities. At the moment, that's allowing them to basically swap out a dice for a pre-rolled dice that gives them a certain number. So you can say you need to hit a target, they will hit that target if you can swap out the number of dice that you need with ones from a pool. There's a whole faith mechanic that I can explain at another time, for those who are wanting me to. Then we have some forces of the Adeptus Mechanicus, which are these kind of hooded troops. There's also the troops on big tracked frames. The troops here are Scutari. They're foot soldiers of the Adeptus Mechanicus, who are the Imperium's tech people. So there's many a meme about the tech priests being hoarding ancient technologies, especially toasters. A lot of them are relatively accurate to the way the Mechanicus behave in lore, but the Mechanicus are the ones you call if you find something you don't understand. They may also kill you for finding something you don't understand, but they make all the technology in the Imperium. Like, they oversee the making of it. There is versions where there are things called manufactorums, which aren't necessarily overseen by tech priests, depending on the planet, that produce machinery for that world. But the Mechanicus themselves are the ones who provide most of the tech and have full authority over technology, pretty much. They're also a semi-independent faction within the Imperium of Man, whereas the Sisters of Battle are the military faction of the Imperial Church. And if you've studied any kind of history, that might seem a bit familiar to the Spanish Inquisition. Yeah, the Sisters take mentality off the Spanish Inquisition, whereas the tech priests are kind of kleptomaniac, steampunk, medieval guys. Then on the other side, you have the Necrons, who are ancient robots from a bygone era, many millennia, many millions of years ago. They fought a war against powerful races, and they sort of won that war, but were badly wiped out by it and decided we're all going to have a collective massive nap. And they're now waking up in the galaxy and realising that this galaxy is infested with things we don't like. We're going to stomp those out. So, whilst also building up our massive empire building and restoring our empires, dealing with threats we think are worth our time, they are one of the factions that would be considered a true good guy, a true bad guy. 40k doesn't really have good guys. It has kind of murky grey guys who are kind of mild levels of evil. And then you have genocidal space robots who will massacre entire planets of life just because they don't like there being life on that world. And then you have chaos, but that's a whole different story for another time. But yeah, the other side here kind of doesn't really show anything of consequence. So I am just going to fold that up and pull it away. So the premium subscription gives you extra stuff. Get it if you want. You're probably better saving your money and getting the models from it separately if you want them. But you do you. If you think this is a really cool thing to get for a little bit extra, by all means, go for it. Now, I'm just trying to see if I can spot anywhere on the kind of... It shows me the first 3 issues, but I don't think it shows me the next ones. Yeah. Also, some of these come with ring binder holes in them. This is so that you can stick them in a ring binder, because this does come with a ring binder, or you can just use your own. And so, here are the contents of the set. Yeah. I attempted to cut these out. I've kind of butchered them because they're curves, and cutting curves is a pain in the ass. I've got them looking, the tokens looking relatively fine, though completely worthless to me. But the range ruler, I am keeping. As for the minis themselves, now, here's a piece of terrain that was once a prop, which is now a podium. It can now be a podium. I don't know what I'll do with this terrain piece eventually. Maybe stairs. Anyway, so we have Volkite pistol, Lieutenant with power, well, Volkite storm shield and power sword, Lieutenant versus Royal Warden with Gauss weapon. Yeah, I botched up the building process a bit with the Royal Warden and cut the internal tab off a bit too far back. So he's glued together, whereas this one is just held together with friction. Which is good, because I'm planning on converting it after this video. So yeah. Yeah, so it's a nice enough sculpt. It is very much a monopose model, as is this one. Now, I did do a review back in 2020 on the Combat Patrol, on the Recruit Edition starter set, so pachow, go and watch that. You can go and watch that. Like, for $6 Australian, this is a pretty reasonable thing. Like, buying each one of those individually, I don't think you can at the moment. But, knowing GW, they'd, when next edition comes around, if these models are released separately, they'll probably be about $50, $60 each. That's Australian dollars. Yeah. In terms of the Royal Warden, you can kind of see the back of him. Like, the shoulders on the Necrons look neat, and he got that Necron leader drip. He got that Canoptech drip. Or Necron tier drip. But yeah. Like, would I say pick this issue up if you can find it? Yeah. If you play Marines or Necrons, this issue's a pretty decent issue. Some of the future issues I'm not such a big fan of. I mean, only coming with 3 Necron warriors and a paint, and then 3 Space Marines that have to be Ultramarines, because the shoulder U symbol, the Ultra symbol, is actually moulded onto their pauldron. And, I mean, I won't be getting that issue because I already have plenty of Macragge Blue. But I might get that issue purely so I can give the Necrons to my friend. And keep the Necron Rune Lord brass, because I can see a use for it. Ah, a starter brush. Something I have ruined like three or more of. Oh well, they're cheap brushes. And my advice for getting into the hobby on the cheap is just buy cheap brushes from dollar stores. Don't go for anything expensive. You don't want to feel precious about your brushes while you're learning what you're doing. Which, yeah, I would say don't go buying GW brushes until you're half decent at painting, just so you're not afraid of wrecking your brushes. Because like $8 to $15 or $20 for a brush from GW is not a small amount if you're afraid of ruining the brush. Whereas a brush pack for like $2, for like $2 to $5, that's something you're not going to care about the brushes from, because you can buy another set for next to nothing. I'm just looking around to see if I actually have a set available to kind of highlight, but no, I don't. Oh well. One of these days I'll finish the terrain piece that these models are standing on. maybe having stairs off this side. But yeah. Anyway, this is a decent enough set. I don't hold any value on the tokens. The battle mat is relatively the Necron side of it's kind of the better side, I'd say. But look at that. That's just cool. That's just neat. It also doesn't have markers on it. Unlike this side. This side has markers, which immediately makes it worse. To be fair, the markers are good for beginners, but like, yeah. Anyway. That Necron drip. So yeah, anyway, thanks for watching. I will have more stuff on the channel in future. This week I've got a whole lot of stuff I'm working on putting out this week, but things are going to get interesting moving forward, and I've already covered why in a past video. Anyway, thanks for watching. Bye!